Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Matt Kennedy checking in, actually from Southern California this weekend. Sorry about my background. I'm in a hotel, but you have reached the Ultra MK podcast where together we are reversing the narrative. And today I have a wonderful guest on my show. She is chiming in from Texas, near Austin, Texas. And I haven't actually been acquainted with her for very long, but I knew that when I first encountered her, I was gonna like her a lot, and she's all about energy work and healing people. She's very spiritual. She's very gifted. She loves the Lord, and she's a great mom. Her name is Tara Mychelle, and she has a cool real estate business called Sold Spaces, and that's a play on words for sold, Soul, our soul, sold spaces. So stay tuned for more information about Mychelle and what she's doing out in Texas. You're going to love this show. Don't go too far.
That is our obligation, to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face.
Good morning, Tara. How are you?
Hey, good morning. It's so exciting to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. Thanks for joining with me. And how's everything? How's the weather today out in Texas where you are?
Oh, it's beautiful today. It's going to be a nice 96 degrees. I don't know what the humidity level will be, but our summer has finally arrived because we were very much having a very long spring with a lot of rain. So now summer's here. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm good with it because it means it's a short summer
Yep.
and we only have through October.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna come and go. We're gonna blink because we're so busy leading busy lives. So,
Exactly.
so I understand that you also have a podcast
Yes.
that you've been doing. And
Yes.
can you tell my audience a little bit more about the name of your show and what inspired
Yeah.
you to start the show and what it's about?
Yeah, so the name of the show currently is Intuitive Mentor Mom, and I'm about ready to rebrand it. So it will actually be called Rooted in Rising. And, Intuitive Mentor Mom really came about as it was really more a passion and it was just a hobby for me to be able to speak because part of my calling and my truth is to speak my truth because who I am is somebody who is committed to inspiring, motivating, and activating people to really root into their truth. And I've had I had a YouTube page or still have a YouTube page, and I've done coaching and I've done energy work throughout the years. And although I also have a corporate day job because as a single mom, that's what I got to do. And what was missing for me was speaking. So I created the podcast a little over a year ago. Was working with a podcast coach. We came up with the name Intuitive Mentor Mom, which really is about. Um, the show is really about how life is happening for us, not to us. And often I think people get locked into like the victim realm of life. Like life is happening to me. No, it's actually happening for you and it's happening for you all the time. And it's really happening for you to be the hero of your journey. And so the show is a lot about that, about my own personal stories, but also I do some interviews. But what has come to light for me is that the name does not resonate with me at all. So, yes, I'm intuitive. Yes, I'm a mentor. Yes, I'm a mom. But really, I feel the show is really about being rooted and rising. So, you're really rooting into your truth and rising to your truth. And so, that's more the direction that the show is going to go. But I just love it. It's fun. It really is just something that I enjoy doing to share my gift, or I should say, share my gift for speaking and my gift for gab. So yeah.
You go, good. Well, that's awesome. No, I just think that if you're passionate about that and you can reach people, make a difference in their lives, it's what it's about in the Great Awakening. reaching your fullest potential
Absolutely.
through knowledge and understanding. Seems like there's been a lot of things hidden from us as people
So much.
that would help distract us from what's most important, and make us sicker, or dumb us down, or just keep us not living up to our fullest potential. And maybe that's why we see so many issues and problems in the world today with, failed relationships, failed marriages,
All of
um,
it.
people not being humble, people not getting along with one another, or even worse, hating each other. Lots of psychological operations happening in order to divide and trying to conquer, as a nation and as a world. Even we're seeing so
Oh,
many different
absolutely.
signs about that. But I really enjoy having someone like you on who can talk more about energy and frequencies. And it's like, something as simple as, like, how do I feel today? What kind of mood am I in?
Hmm.
And from what I understand is, like, our body is all electric, right? From our brain being the central
100%.
computer to our
Yep.
nervous system, how our emotions are tied into that, how our body operates, our organs operate. It's all through energy, right? I'm in the energy business, but I'm not doing podcasts. I'm in, the energy, home energy and solar space. And I mean, I know that in order for us to pass an inspection with the inspector, we have to have a grounding rod for
Yep.
our electrical components.
Yep.
And so grounding to our earth is something that's so important for the current to be able to be grounded. And so there's so much that we could talk about with that, but I just feel that, like, God's doing something in our world and with us as individuals, trying to reveal himself more and more through showing us tools and things that we sometimes take for granted, or maybe that we were just never taught in school, because a lot of us went to government sponsored schools where they just taught us to be, useful little workers, to go out and
Factory
just
workers. Yep.
go get into some debt with college,
Yep.
go try to meet that debt by getting a job, work for somebody else, pay taxes through the nose your whole life, and maybe you'll have enough for retirement later.
You're
It just seems like
glorified slaves, 100%.
exactly
Hmm.
100%. But it
Hmm.
seems like there is something happening right now where people are seeing this pattern, and we're like, wait a minute, our lives aren't getting better compared to, like, people, maybe our grandparents, or things, especially financially. It just seems like things are getting more uh, difficult. But I'm glad that you came onto the show, because I really want to learn more about your background, what led you to this kind of work, and the integration of your work into real estate, which I find very fascinating. So go ahead, you take it away.
Yeah. Oh, I just got chills. You said so much, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. It's we are, I'll just, I'm just going to speak my truth, however it resonates for people, but we are 100% living inside of a matrix. We are 100% glorified slaves, and we are 100%, if you are still very plugged into the machinery, it's like a meat grinder right now. It's like it's going so fast right now. Energetically, everything is just and it's so fast to the point to where I constantly contemplate, do I just sell everything and like move to some little country where it's just quiet and slow and like ride out the rest of it in this slow state? But I also get that I'm here. I'm supposed to be where I'm here in the US, but the energies very much feel like they're just going at such high force. And I also get that, you know, it's required to move at that level in order to wake people up, because this we are at the crescendo. Like we're at that breaking point. You got to wake up to what's really happening. But I also liked what you were talking about, how everything is energy. And when you even talk about it from the solar perspective, like solar on your house, which I had on our old house, and with a grounding rod and has to pass inspection. I mean, you can look at your body as the same thing. In order to pass that inspection of really being tuned into your highest and purest to that God energy, you need to be grounded and rooted, not only in your truth, but physically in your body. Because I think too, it's very easy. I feel like I'm going to go on tangents right now, but it's very easy at this time in life with all of the device and all of the social media to constantly keep you disconnected, to constantly keep you not grounded. And that was the design. I mean, that is purposefully designed to constantly disconnect. You also brought up this point about, everything is to divide us, divide and conquer. I mean, we're divided from sex to religion to politics to, I mean, hell, I don't know, you name it. We're divided.
Yeah, yeah, the kind of jeans you want to buy, right?
Oh my
American
God,
Eagle.
everything is divided. And
Yeah.
I, it's funny, fast forward from my little self to today, and I'm in my mid 50s, and it's uh it's been like a full circle. It's been a full circle. Like, growing up in California, and I'll just share, growing up radically left, and then having my own life experiences, and then finally like shifting over and moving into this other spectrum of becoming more conservative. But then, also finding that balance of in the middle. Can't say
Hmm.
I'm necessarily in the middle, but it's like
Hmm.
finding that balance in all of it,
Yeah.
and then pulling myself out of it to not still be in that cycle of division.
Right.
And so yeah, it's I we are in the most amazing, the most incredible time. One of the things I always say to you, that I just acknowledge you for who you are, for having this show, for having the voice that you have, for being on this mission, because I think we're all in it together, right? And we all play different parts and different roles inside of this. It's a very huge transition that we're making, because we are evolving, and we are upgrading our consciousness. And you are either coming with us or you're hanging back down here. And right
Yeah.
now it's that middle game where we're at. It's like it's thick. That's all I can say. Like, energetically, it's like, whoa. I
Yeah.
just I think back to when I was little, and I can't even believe like the times that we're living in right now and what we're seeing and what we're witnessing. It's like, holy shit, that was just in a movie, that
Yeah.
was just in a movie. And now it's
Right.
like, no, this is our real life. This is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've had lots of conversations with people in my surroundings who have studied the occult and their influence in society, our country, and what they believe in, which is totally 180 degrees difference from what you and I probably believe in.
Yeah.
And in their belief system, they have to reveal things to us in advance and show
Yeah.
us things. I
Mhm.
believe, I don't know, it could be called, it's a Machiavellian tactic, maybe Hegelian dialect. I can't remember.
Well, there's predictive programming is
Yes,
one of them.
predictive
Yeah,
programming,
predictive
100,
programming. Hmm.
100%. And
And
so
they
that,
have to, in order for us to consent, they have to tell us. And I think it's almost brilliant because, hey, they understand exactly how this mind works, right? And this mind is the most powerful tool we have. And it really is about us taking that power back, because this mind is so fragile. And when I say fragile, it's easily persuaded, it's
mhm,
easily controlled. And we need to understand that, we as our own individual self. And this is something that I talk about a lot on my podcast, is like, um and sorry, I just kind of, sorry I interrupted, but let me I just had this thought.
no, you're fine.
But we this brain is the hard drive, or is the brain is like the heart is the hard drive. The brain, that's like your computer system, right? But the hard drive is like telling the heart
Hmm.
is actually speaking to the brain. And it's
Hmm.
really, about tuning into who I am at my truth. Who am I truly? And it is going back and connecting to God, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then from understanding and knowing the truth of your heart, like, really, who are you? What do you really believe in? Who are you as your sovereign self, your sovereign soul?
Hmm.
And then you can plug into this, and it becomes this beautiful garden, which then reflects outside, this outside world. And I think people don't, well, I'm not going to say people don't understand that. A lot of people do understand that, but there's still a huge mass of people that don't.
Yeah,
And that's what the elites understand about us, is that
totally.
this beautiful mind is so easily controlled. And so when you look back, I mean, I look back and I think, I look at cartoons and I look at everything in media. Everything in media has been constantly conditioning, 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 conditioning. And, it really is taking your power back, unplugging and reconditioning yourself to, and I also, I don't know if we're going to get to talk about it, but that video that you sent to me yesterday about AI and the Antichrist and God, I was like, oh Lord, today that's huge. And
Yeah.
it was powerful, right? Because I feel like I'm all over the place, but I'm just going to say I think AI is a really beautiful thing when it's brought and put into the right hands. And in the wrong hands, every technology that's been given to us as humanity can go wrong. And in the wrong hands, it can go wrong. And it's quite possible that, you know, um, AI could go wrong.
Yeah.
But what I will say, and then I'll hand it over to you, what I will say is that again, it really comes back to what's the narrative that you want to step into? Because there are going to be all these narratives of fear AI, fear AI, fear AI. If we keep pointing the needle there, then yes, AI is going to become that piece that controls us. But if we really get that the beauty of this technology can be used for good, it could be used for good in the medical system. It could be used for educational system, all kinds of things. It can be used for good. It's like moving the needle back to how do I continue to witness or see the validation of the good that I'm trying to project out there. It's like
Mhm.
that's where we move the needle to. Stop moving the needle over to where media wants you to go, which is fear, 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 fear. It's like, nope, I got to pull that back over here. The more we're pulling back over here, that's when we're going to drive that momentum to move to that new earth, to move to that higher ground, to move to where God is saying we must go. It's moving in that direction, but we have to practice. Like, okay, yeah, I see that that's what they want you to believe. I see that that's what you want, they want you to say and think. Like, I listened to that video and it was brilliant, and I loved how he was asking AI all the questions. And I thought to myself as I was listening, I was like, well, this could really scare the crap out of me. And I could be like, oh my God, like I'm never going to use it,
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting. And thank you for that now new tool. I'm actually gonna tweak how I use AI and start asking these other questions and get it to, because AI was even saying, it's about I don't want to use the word manipulation, but it really is about, you know, discernment and how we use things, but also how we listen to things. If you're listening to media as if it's all truth, then hey, you're going to live in that 3D world all the time. But you have to really unplug. So I'll stop there because I get all excited and get really excited about all this stuff and passionate. So I'll stop there.
We lost signal when you were talking about, using better discernment, and then it went and it cut out. So was there something, a thought that you wanted to finish there? If not, I can
No,
just keep it rolling.
no, I just really, it is about discernment, and it is
Hmm.
about, it's about becoming a critical thinker and stop just following the masses, you
Hmm.
know. And
Hmm.
and I know the big push is do your research. It is do your research, but now it's also about, does it resonate? Does it resonate in your heart?
Hmm.
Does
Yeah.
it have you think, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that sounds right. I'll
Right.
use an example. My son, came home recently and was like, "Oh, mom, I was watching this guy on YouTube and he said Texas has, the most school shootings in the country and da 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 da." And I just thought, I just said to him, I said, I'm not going to believe that. That sounds like propaganda to me. I said, everybody's bashing Texas these days. And I'm like, the 10 years that we've been here, I don't know. I think there's been two school shootings. Like, and I said, and let's even get into school shootings, which I probably shouldn't get into because that's very controversial, but, and people will probably be really pissed when I say this. I feel like most of those things are targeted. I feel like they are controlled.
Yep.
um, I feel like they are planted and seeded, and
Yeah.
I try to teach my son this, because it's like, because he's like, "Well, mom, all these people are dying," and I said, "Hey, I don't want anybody to die.
Right.
I mean, I stood 20 blocks away when 9/11 occurred. I watched it. I was there while lots of people were dying. That's not what I want, but here's what I want to say: don't believe all those statistics. Don't believe them because so much of them are skewed and it's propaganda. It's like, yes,
Yes.
school shootings across the board all need to be gone, needs to be ended now. But to start saying, oh, Texas and like everybody's all about Texas right now. Like the moment that stuff starts happening, that's when my spidey senses come up and say, you know what?
Yeah. And that's
Nah,
the thing is like, and I'm sorry, how old is your son right now?
he's
Is he
14. He's
14?
14.
So
Yeah.
he's just now getting into the age of questioning everything. But it's like
Yes.
as a mom, you're like, you're the nurturer. You still want him to still have some innocence while he's still a
Yes.
minor. And I get it because I mean, when my daughter's 11 and I know that when she starts getting older, if she does have these kinds of concerns, it's like there's so much of me that wants to just share, okay, well, honey, once we go down the rabbit hole, there's no coming back. And once I show you, once you take the red pill, there's no coming back. Are you sure you want to go? And if she agrees, we're going to talk about MK Ultra. We're going to talk about the CIA. We're going to talk about the poisonous food. We're going to talk about the frequencies and the devices, the 5G. We're going to
All
talk
of it.
about subliminal messaging. We're going to talk about the Freemasons. We're going to talk about these things because if they understand that it is propaganda in order to divide us, number one, but two, they're pulling us further away from God
Yes.
because they want to be our gods, right? They
Yes.
they they
Yes.
want to be our they want us to worship false idols on movie screens, on stages, with either music or sports.
All of it.
They want to pull us away from God. They also want to they also want to manipulate the system in order to take us further away from our constitutional rights,
Yes.
which and our Bill of Rights, and those have been given to us by God. And
Yes.
so, by them creating a narrative that guns are bad because these shootings are happening, of course, the shootings that are happening are horrible, but let's dig into how they're happening, why they're happening, right? Let's dig into
Yep.
that. Let's not
And
just
that,
blame guns because it's like,
no.
how many people die in auto accidents every year?
Oh,
How,
yeah.
how, how many people die of a knife laceration or stabbing, right?
Yeah.
But we're
We could
not,
take it to COVID too. Like, oh, half a
you know what
million
I mean?
people died this year of COVID. I'm like, well, half a million people died of the flu last year, but you didn't talk about that, So
Yes.
it's,
It's all
yeah,
programming. It's
it's
all
all
programming.
programming.
And it
And,
is designed to go after our youth. Like
oh,
they're coming
yes.
after our kids because they don't want moms and dads like us to raise our children, giving them information that we feel is vital for their development. They want to divide us from our kids and then tell the children that, you're a cat today, you're a woman tomorrow. All people that wear patriot shirts are racist. You know what I mean? Like they create those
I can't
things.
even like the racism conversation just I can't even go there. I get so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And I am somebody who is of color. I grew up in the 70s.
You
You know,
are? That's
I know, right? Right? Could you see it?
I love your skin.
Yeah, thank you. I do too. But it's, and that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother podcast that we could have really, because it's fascinating when I think about my journey there and when I see what has happened even today. And then, my brothers who were all mixed. And so my dad, there's 6 kids, there's 4 mothers, we're all mixed, and we're all very much on the spectrum of politics and how we feel about it. And I'm probably one of the only ones in the family that I'm like, I'm just done seeing race. I'm like, at what point are we done with that conversation? At what point are we going to stop allowing them to divide us? And everybody wants to focus on, oh, but what happened? What happened? What happened? Hey, that happened. So what are you going to create today? What are you going to do right now? You know, like at some point, we have to put the torches down and create a new conversation. Color is not at all recognizable until you tell a child that there's something different. And I am
Yeah.
a product of that. I had no idea that I was different until the kids were like, why is your mom blonde haired and white? I was like, oh, I don't know. Is that different? Like, I don't know. but
Yeah.
that's just normal to me. And the
Yeah.
same thing happened with my son. And when I saw my son in the 3D ultrasound, I saw all my features. I saw the curly hair, thought for sure he was going to have the same color skin. He comes out white as snow with red hair. And I was like, I looked at him and I just said, my little white boy, and God, you have such a funny sense of humor.
Yes.
Because as a little girl growing up in the 70s, once people told me that I was different, I wanted to then be white. I used to put a I used to put a pillowcase on my hair for my long blonde luxurious hair. Like I had such issues with the color of my skin, and I had to go through that whole journey, and I hated myself. I hated the color. I told myself I'm never going to have sex with a black man. I mean, I said these things as a child, you know, and refused. And so then fast forward, get into my 20s, go to African American history class, and then I'm like, oh damn it, I'm not black enough. Okay. Then I go through
Yeah.
that whole phase.
Hmm.
and
Sure.
and then I finally just am like, what am I doing with any of this stuff? And why does any of it matter? But it is all there to divide,
That's
divide,
right.
divide, divide. It is also there to break down your self-esteem. It's to
Yes.
break down your self of worth, your self-purpose.
That's
And
right.
that's, when we really think about why are we really here, and this goes back to my podcast, I really believe that we are all here together, and you can choose whichever lane you want. You can have whatever experience you want. You want to go be the best killer? Do it, okay? I'm telling you, there's gonna be a lot of consequences if you do that, but you have at it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Free
want to be,
will.
yeah,
Hmm.
you want to be the best pope, you want to be the best president, you want to be the best factory worker. You have every experience at your fingertips on this planet in this universe. And then the other piece to it is there's light and there's dark. And inside of the light and dark, there's all these layers, right? And I tell my son this all the time. Your whole purpose on this planet is to master choice. Every second of your day is a yes or a no. I gotta pee, I don't have to pee. I'm hungry, I am not hungry. I need to go pick up the dog poop, don't pick up the dog poop. Like every single second of your day is mastering choice.
Right.
And inside of those choices, on the other side, there's always, I think we have negative connotation around consequences, but I feel like there's a consequence on every side of it. And one of them is going to take you up a higher path, and one of them is going to take you down a path that's going to be real rocky. And from a young age, I always knew that there was roads A, B, or C. That's how it was shown to me. I don't know, when I would get downloads as a little girl. A, B, and C. And A is the high road, B is the middle, and C is just like da, 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 it's just like rocky. And I've taken a lot of the C roads many times, and but I come back to this thing, trying to stay on track here, talking about race and division. You come back full circle, and at the end of the day, none of that shit matters. It
No.
just doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter to like scream at the rooftops to like free the slaves or free the people or the man. Like, just be in love.
Right.
Just be in love. That's all
Right.
that matters.
Right.
Love. It has nothing to do with anything other than I see you as this beautiful, bright human. Do you see me as a beautiful, bright human? And what can we make a difference on this planet? How can we do that? How
Hmm.
can we continue to spread love? And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman either. Like, it just doesn't matter. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter.
Hmm.
But all of that stuff, and we've seen it in the past 40 years really maximize. They want to divide you from every level of sexual identity, all this bullshit. Excuse my language. But it's just like, enough already.
Yeah.
Just be
Yeah.
who you want to be.
Hmm.
You want to change your sex? That's fine. I don't care, but I don't need to know about it. I don't really
Hmm.
care.
Hmm.
You want to call yourself whatever? I don't care. Just tell me what your name is, and I'm happy to treat you like the human that you are.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like the whole race thing, and my brothers and I, it's funny because my brothers don't really talk to me anymore. It's sad, but that's really what this whole political warfare has created. And
Sure.
they see me as very not on track, and I think that's okay. And they are
Yeah.
where they are, and
Hmm.
I really believe that we will find our place together at some point again, but I'm not going to veer off of what I know is truth for me. And that is that God and love is all. Jesus,
Mhm,
we talk about
mhm,
it. That is
mhm,
all.
mhm.
That message is it.
Yep.
And that message, however it's been skewed, and the fact that it's, there are countries trying to rewrite it again,
And AI from our that interview or
right?
that link I
Right?
sent you, they're that the global elites are literally trying to rewrite
Rewrite.
Bible into their own type of skewed narrative that fits for their agendas. And folks, we'll put the link in the drop down below so you can reference to the show that both Tara and I shared yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
Wonderful.
gentleman's name, but he did a great job just kind of
It did.
figuring
It was
out
very cool.
what AI is being used for now versus what it could be used for into the future, because AI was telling him. But yeah, Tara, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you at all, but you're
No.
totally, your perspective is totally on par
Yeah.
for what's been happening, because I feel you are awakened. And some of those who we love very much around us have not met up with us to this level yet. We saw that during COVID. I mean, they've used that the whole medical tyranny and the illusion of a mega virus hurting people to divide us and make us scared. And I mean, they're still trying to throw so many different things at us to see, how can they break us? And so,
Right.
we do have to stay rooted. And I will encourage people that, God isn't religion. I know I was hoping to have another friend on with us
Yes.
today, but he's going to join with us on another roundtable. But I think we can definitely discuss at some point more about how in history they've used God to their advantage to
100%.
to give people, you know, uh, a direction that they wanted to steer people in through fear and through certain tactics, and misconstrue certain scripture to divide people and to pull them further away from God through shame and guilt and other things. And so, and that's not what God wants. God wants us to come to Him and ask Him for guidance, for us to have an opportunity to repent for things that we maybe, you talked about waking up every day, making yeses and nos, making decisions every day. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're not going to make good decisions, and we're human beings and we're going to have to
That's
own
right.
that. But
Mhm.
it's like when you're a child and you do something and it wasn't good, and your parents are going to find out about it. And if your parents were loving, good parents to you, if you brought it to them and said, "Hey, look, I messed up. This is what I did while you're at work today, mom." Uh, Chances are they're going to forgive you almost immediately. If it's depending on the severity of the problem, they might give you some tough love parenting. They might ground you or do something because they love you, but they want to teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
God does the same thing, but he's not there to ridicule or to
No.
tell you you're not worthy and
Right.
that he'll never forgive you. He's nothing like that.
No.
Jesus isn't, he's not always a peaceful, loving God. I mean, there's some things that he calls out deliberately in the Bible for people who are taking advantage of their fellow man and woman and doing evil to them. He will call people out. But
We all
I've,
should do that.
yep,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I just think that, you know, we have to we have to get back to our roots. We have to get back to our foundation, our moral compass of being good human beings towards one another, because we're going to have to rebuild this whole country. I mean, as we see from the top down, all of the exposure, all of the revelation that's going to be coming out about political leaders, celebrities, musicians,
All,
um, actors. I mean,
all of
they've
it.
all been involved in a global syndicate that's been working against we the people,
Yes.
dividing us based on
All of it.
narrative. And the
All
sad
of it.
part about it is, unfortunately, folks, it stems to children. They're
Yes.
trying to manipulate children. They've been involved in so many demonic things,
Yes.
from like, especially the higher they are in their celebrity status or their political status, um a lot of information is going to be coming out. It's going to be hard to swallow for a lot of people. People are going to, you know, not, they're going to resist it. They're going to say, hey, it's too much for me to handle. But I feel that if we can understand it and understand why it happened and come together to help each other heal from it, I think that we're going to have to rebuild our communities. We're going to have to rebuild our country and our world again, because you know, this is a spiritual battle between good and evil,
Yeah.
and it's global, but it's also in the home,
Yeah.
right? And
For that.
if we can take our if we can take our authority through God and use the abilities that he has given to us to rebuke all that is evil and to bring our children closer to us and not let the world raise our children, then
Yeah.
we can teach them those core values: how to
Yeah.
treat your neighbor, how to treat your parents and your elders, how
Yeah.
to treat yourself. I mean, these are traveling
Starts with
meat suits,
yourself.
you
Yeah,
know?
it
So it's
starts with
like,
yourself.
yeah,
It's really finding your it's you know, if there's anything that I love when I look at my son and I'll tell him things, you know, he doesn't have the talk track that I had as a kid, you know. He wasn't you know, I was raised in a very verbally, physically, emotionally, sexually abusive household. And so there was lots of stuff going on. And but he wasn't raised that way, and I'm glad because he doesn't like when I ask him, you know, do you see your self-worth? Do you see your truth? He's like, yeah, of course I do, mom. And I'm like, I love that he says, of course I do. Of course I do. Like, I didn't say that at 14. I was just like, who am I? You know? And it really does start with that self love, that self understanding. And never do I push on him that he needs to know who he is because he's 14. He's going to keep evolving. But it really does start with, do these children love who they are? And can they see who they are? You know? And
mhm,
I always remind him, like, he's amazing to me. He's one of my greatest teachers. Now, I'm still his mother, but he is one of my greatest teachers. He's a very wise soul, as is every child walking this planet. And, you know, I'm constantly telling him I'm proud of him. And he'll be like, for what? And so then I get to tell him what I'm proud of, you know, and whether he hears it or not, it's like I'm constantly building that up for him. Because
yeah,
I think with my generation, the Gen X, or yeah, the Gen Xers, I'm like, what am I? A Gen Z, Gen X? I'm a Gen X, but
mhm,
I'm like, what am I? But we had a very different upbringing, you know. It was very normal that kids were getting beat up or wives,
mhm,
and you know there was sexual and physical abuse going on in households all the time, and people were just like, oh,
mhm,
have to turn my head for that today. You know, we don't live in that world today. So
yeah,
now what my generation is dealing with is what we have: the big narcissism and the big, you know, sociopathic behavior complex going on in the planet. You know, and I had a friend one day, she's like, I'm so tired of hearing this stuff and all you 40s and 50s-year olds talking about that. And I said, well, that's just a product of what we were raised in our households.
yeah,
Now it's going to be the product of our kids. They're
yeah,
not going to be able to communicate with people if you don't get them off those damn phones and out into the world and in front of other children. So
that's
they're
right.
going to have a struggle communicating,
That's
or they're
right.
going to be so plugged into tech world and sci-fi and AI that they're not going to know what it is to really be a human being.
That's
You
right.
know, that's their thing. So it's, and now I'm on another tangent, sorry, but it's like there's so many things here. It's like so many layers, but that's part of that machinery. And that's that thing that they're over time conditioning, conditioning, conditioning. Sorry, that was a
Mhm.
tangent. So I'll just get
No,
back to
it's no, we have to, you know, because you're raising a young, well, he's a boy, he's a young man.
He's a
He's
young
he,
man. It's
he's a young
very
man.
hard to raise children in this day
Yes.
and age. Most of my friends, their kids are in their 20s and almost 30s. And here I am with this 14-year-old, and I'm like, holy shit. It's
Hmm.
very scary
Hmm.
raising a child in today's standards because there's a part of me that I have to constantly let go of. Like, the digital world is his world, you know? And when he sits in his room for 8 hours with YouTube on, the gaming on, and the switch all going at the same time, and I'm just sitting there going, oh my god, his brain, oh my god,
Yeah.
know, and I'm trying to figure out how to unplug him, but at the same time I have to allow some aspects of that because that's his world. And
Yeah.
if you unplug him so much so, then he can't function in this world where it's headed. So it's this constant, like that's the experience he came in for, right?
Mm.
And it's this constant juggle and this constant battle. And it's I just never knew that we were going to be where we are today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
it
get
is,
it. I
it's
get
intense.
it. But
Hmm.
you know, it's like I'm with you. I think that there's aspects of the technology shift that, you know, the Gen Z and beyond are going to obviously have incorporated in their life. But hey, at the end of the day, this is daddy,
Right?
your mom,
Right?
right? Hey, I can flip a switch on that internet router, boy, real quick, real quick.
And don't
You
think I
know,
haven't. Don't
I
think I
know.
haven't. Yeah.
And it's tough too, especially for single moms out there that might be watching this. It's like you're being mom and dad too. And I
Yes.
know it's you know, and that's another thing that they've done
All
is they
time.
divided men and women. It's like
Yeah.
men are more the assertive, you know, they're more the masculine energy that certain
Yeah.
children really need. And
Yeah.
moms are obviously the nurturer, but if when moms
Yes.
have to play both parts,
It's hard.
it's an identity crisis for the parent, you know, for the parent.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can imagine. And so, you know, I'll be praying for you on that note for sure with
Thank
that
you.
situation because I'm with you. I mean, the more I learn about what blue light does to the eyes, to the brain, frequency, all of the Wi-Fi that these kids are being surrounded with, what
Yep.
it's doing to the anatomy, things that like, you know, parents first need to educate themselves. I do encourage people. I'm
Yeah.
not a Netflixer, but I do know that there is a documentary on Netflix called it is called the
Is
it
it Social
is
Dilemma?
yes, thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Wow,
My
good.
son watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, social
It was
dilemma.
like,
That's a good one to start with, especially with
yeah.
kids that are addicted to TikTok and to the social media apps. Social dilemma. I think it came out maybe 8 or 9 years ago now, but it's like that's when really like the smartphones and all
Yep.
these social media and the gaming really
Yep.
became what it is now. So you have to go back to the origin of the coders, the people who were in the board meetings that were in the design phases of this technology and their perspective of what they thought it was going to be versus what it has become
Right.
and the data that's really not being reported on that coincides with you know high tech use when you're a young person with a underdeveloped brain to the amount of suicides to the amount to their health all you know all of that
All of it.
has yeah all of that and
All of it.
so as parents I mean we have to band together and really limit the amount of tech that our kids are going to have and explain to them it's like a tool like anything else right
Yes.
it's like when you're in the kitchen with your granny or somebody learning how to use a high power KitchenAid mixer okay
Yeah.
you don't put your finger in the dang mixer kid
Right.
there's
Right.
certain things that we have to train our children to see it as something that you have to respect and then maybe give it to them as a reward when they
Yes.
do these other things that I mean society demands of us our parents you know we have to conduct ourselves with a certain level of respect performance how are we serving other people like is the time that we're spending is it well served not just to us but to others right and that's something that I've in my adult years have been learning to do better is to be a better servant number one for God
100%.
because
You said
he's
it.
always watching me and so I want to serve him, but in to a certain capacity that I think that we can translate to our children to be able to understand and receive.
100%. And I think, you know, that's part of it's very interesting that you say that because that's part of that light dark war. You're either service to self or you're service to others. And it really is about being service to others. Like that's stepping into the fullness of love, in my opinion, is when you are being of service to others. And so yeah, I think it's really important. And yeah, the new world for kids growing up today, it is a whole nother world. You know, my kid asks me all the time, can I have Instagram? I'm like, nope. Can I have any of this? Nope. Can I have TikTok? Nope. Not yet. Not yet. And the only reason he has a phone right now is because he was an exchange student last year and he needed a phone. Otherwise, he'd just be getting a cell phone this year. You know, because I was like, no, I as long as I can keep him as far from it as possible and just do it in bits and pieces,
Yeah.
and because it's very
Well,
detrimental to their brains.
Well, and also too, like I've been really learning a lot in the realm of human and more specifically child trafficking.
Yeah.
And I do know that they are now targeting children through the smartphone devices and
Yep.
social media apps and gaming.
Yep.
There's actually a cult right now, a satanic digital cult called 564.
Mm.
And what they do is they lure young children, boys and girls, and it's boys and girls, folks. So just so
Yep.
you know, it's not just little girls,
Yep.
it is boys too. But what they do is they lure them online into certain scenarios to where they build trust with them, with your children, and then they will tempt them to do certain things, maybe
Yep.
reveal their bodies or say certain things or both, and then they will then extort and blackmail your child with those photographs or those videos, and then they'll manipulate and control your child into feeling that if they go to their parents, if they go to their principal, if they go to the police, that they will ruin their lives, and they will and in some instances show images of other children or uh, you know, people who are hurting children to scare them.
Just
And
scare them.
so, and it's a satanic cult. I don't know if Google, if you can find much yet on Google, but I do know that if you go to search.brave or DuckDuckGo, and Tara, I can send you more about that kind of stuff. But I think every parent right now who has children on devices, you have to know
Need
about
to be aware of that.
this cult, because they are preying on the innocence of our children, and they come masquerading as peers, as friends that are ending up in a chat room or in a video game that they love to go on, Fortnite or
Yeah.
some of these battlefield games, and then before you know it, you wonder why your child isn't coming out for 8 hours at a time.
Right.
You wonder why they go from straight A student to a D or an F student.
Right.
There are certain indicators and certain signs that are pointing as to what's happening when they're either being bullied online, which is a horrible thing to have happened. But if it's even worse, where it could be one of these cult members that have reached your child, you have to know how to identify it first and how to approach it. And so you can help, your child if that were to be the case. But there's a lot of evil that's going on, and we have to be the parents. We have to stand up. And to me, Terry, it sounds like your son, although 14, he's very intelligent. He's very smart. It seems like
Very
you
intelligent,
you can you
very
can
smart.
almost share a little bit with him of things that will at least let him know, look, there are people that want to hurt you, son.
I
And
have been sharing this
yeah,
conversation with him for the last 7 years. When I dove deep into the whole Pizzagate stuff, I just like that was like heartbreaking to me when I went down those rabbit holes, to the point to where when I would go to bathe my son, I would have a really hard time because he was just that targeted age, and it would just break my heart, and I would just, and to even where I was like watching him like a hawk. And my mom and my stepdad are in the Mason world, and he would spend summers there, and I'd be like, just like, you take him to events, you better keep an eye on him, please. So I have been having those conversations with my son since he was young, because I was victim to some of that stuff. And whole nother episode to conversation. But I have always reminded him that you got to be aware at all times, everywhere you are, because you just never know, especially with the gaming.
yeah.
And there's some new patterns and behaviors happening with gaming right now with him that I'm like, hmm. And so I'm always checking in, checking in, checking in. I'm not one of those parents that checks everything. I do have things on his phone to lock certain things down, because we have had the whole porn stuff that we had to navigate a few years back. And that was all due to COVID. You know, he was just curious. And next thing
Yeah.
instead of sitting online in school, he was on, things that he
Hmm.
shouldn't be on,
Hmm.
and so it's a real deal. It's a real deal. And at the end of the day, I can only protect him from so much. And at some point, he's going to go through life and have certain experiences. And I pray every day that he doesn't have the ones that I hope he never has to have.
That's right.
And and the best you can do is educate them, right? And he is a critical thinker, thank God. Sometimes a little bit too much, but I'd rather him be too much than not enough.
That's right.
And
That's
yeah,
right.
so and he's a total history buff, like history is his jam, and yeah, so it's a journey. It's a journey, and and to every parent out there listening, we have real conversations in our household, real conversations. The things that we talk about in this household are what most parents aren't talking about, but I highly encourage parents have the real conversations, especially when boys and girls are coming of age and they're going to start masturbating and all those things. Like those are real conversations. We talk about real things here, and there's no he could just come to me and ask me whatever, and we
Mhm.
have those conversations. And I think that's laying that foundation that it is sacred, but at the same time, nothing is off the table. And
Mhm.
he's not going to be shamed for any question he has or
Sure.
anything that he, has thought of. And if anything, we kind of poke fun with each other about certain things because it is that open. And I encourage families to really try to create that solid foundation because in this world where it is all sex, drugs, rock and roll times 10 and a million, at the age of 2 when they're coming out of the womb practically now, as to where at least late, when I was growing up, it was, yes, 80s was all about skimpy everything, but it's even worse today. It's even worse today.
Yeah.
And you've got to lay the foundation. We talk about condoms, we talk about sex, we talk about all that stuff. Sometimes he tells me things that I was like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that," because he watches a lot of YouTube. And it's creating that foundation and creating that trust and creating that safe haven so that they can come to you and they can tell you things that are happening, or they'll feel safe enough to say, "Mom, I went to this place and I didn't feel comfortable," or "I was
Mhm.
playing this game and this person did talk to me." It's like
Right.
you start laying the foundations for, let's talk about these things. Have you thought
Yep.
about these things? Are you hearing about these things?
Mhm.
Because they're going to hear about it.
Totally. No,
And
totally.
and they've
Yeah, it's
already heard about it.
yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild,
Yeah.
and we have to do what we can as parents, definitely. But hey, let's shift gears a little bit.
I know. Okay.
I
Have
really am interested in learning about well,
sold spaces.
yeah, soul spaces because one, I'm really fascinated with energy and frequency, and I'm fascinated by like um some people think it's conspiracy theory, but like there's been I've been learning in my awakening that there's potentially been others really advanced civilizations who have used really amazing technology through energy and frequency, and it's kind of been hidden away from us because they don't want us to have access to that stuff because then we would live better quality lives that they cannot control. But
Right.
I'm really interested to know more about the energy integration to real estate of all things.
Yes.
And just because I mean, I've been paying attention to real estate and all this other stuff because I mean, it's totally a roller coaster in our country since COVID. So tell me about sold spaces and what that's about.
Yeah, so I'm a former realtor. I love real estate. I have a huge passion for real estate. I've always loved architecture. When I was very little, I was building, houses in shoe boxes and designing and decorating and all the things. And so I went and started investing in properties when I guess my first property I ever bought, I was 30. And I bought it in Los Angeles for $163,000 when that was like a thing, that was a possibility. And and that was really the start because I've just always loved houses. I can walk into a house and I can see the vision. It could be a dilapidated house. I can feel the house. The house, like houses can speak. Like if houses could speak, what could they tell us, right? And So fast forward to now, anytime I've sold my own personal properties, I had a psychic mentor that I used to work with years and years ago. And when I would sell houses, we would like configure the numbers energetically so that I would get lots of buyers coming in. And it always worked, right? It always worked. And I always like sold my houses in under 30 days. I always sold them for way over asking. It was always this little game. Well, now fast forward to now I have my own spiritual gifts and all the things that I can do. I started doing that with my own properties even now. And I have a dear friend who's a realtor today here in Texas, and she'll come to me and she'll ask for guidance when she's selling certain houses that she's having trouble with. And it got to the point to where one day, just a little over a month ago, she was like, you really ought to do this as a business. And I was like, I really should. And that was the creation of Sold Spaces is, you know, I want to work with what is it? How do I say this? Because it really is it's brand spanking new. One can say, "Oh, is that like feng shui?" I do incorporate feng shui, but no, it really is about houses have energy. It's earth energy, right? Houses, so any space that you're living in, any emotional anything you're going through is starting to seep into the energetic field of that house. So it's about when sellers are trying to move out of their house, especially in the market that we're in right now, because stuff is sitting. People are savvy, buyers are savvy, they're not buying as quickly. The rates are astronomical. So a lot of houses are sitting, but a lot of times it's more than just a house being staged properly. Sometimes it could be, and I'll tell you, like this is a house I just recently did. The family that moved out of it kept trying to have a baby and they weren't having babies. What do we find in the closet of one of the houses or the house when I was clearing it is a kit for a demised baby. And so that energy is sitting inside the house. When people walk into houses, they feel that energy. They don't know what it is, but they feel it. They'll feel that something's off. They'll feel that it's not a fit. Like people can feel. You can look at a haunted house and you can be like, that house just doesn't feel right. That doesn't look right. And you can go into certain neighborhoods, okay? And the frequency comes down. You can go into other neighborhoods and the frequency comes up. Now, people could say, oh, well, that has to do with affluency. It could. It's quite possible that it could. But consider it's more than that. It's the layers of the individual that are living and inhabiting inside of that house. Okay. And
Sure.
even when we look at like old barns or old properties, you can feel, you go into an old hotel and say downtown San Francisco, you can feel the
Right.
life that has occurred in that building. So
Right.
what I do is I go in and I actually will clear out energies in these houses. And I try to, what I recognize that I was actually doing is it's almost like I'm reinvigorating the soul of the home or the soul of that
Mhm.
energetic structure because the land
Mhm.
has soul. Right? The
Mhm.
land that it's sitting on has an energy and a frequency. The walls have a frequency. The rooftop has a frequency. The airspace above, which is also incorporated in the house of a sale, you have certain amount of feet above the house that's airspace that you own. All of that is a frequency. So it's about going in, clearing that, aligning that. I also do prayers. I'll do sound healing with the houses. I use Palo Santo. I use lavender. I do all kinds of things, but each house is individual because each house has an individual story. And it is also about uprooting all of the energies of the seller or the people who have been living there and pulling them out and moving them to where they're headed. Because the other thing is sometimes people have a hard time leaving the property that they're in because big familial events will have happened or big events in their life have happened in that house. And so all those memories are in that house. So it's about inspiring them and aligning them to what's next and what they're creating,
Mhm.
uprooting and removing all of their energy out, and then reinvigorating the soul of this house so that it can open its doors to what's next in the next buyer that's coming in. So that's where sold, SOULD, becomes sold, SOLD, because it really is reinvigorating the soul of that house and just brightening it and removing all that no longer serves it and the people that are coming in.
Wow.
So Yeah, and it's a much bigger undertaking. It's funny because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do these things and I'm gonna go line it and da 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 da." And as I start getting it and actually doing it, because I've only ever really been doing my own personal properties, which that's a different situation. When you're going into other people's properties, it's a whole nother gig. So it's been a great learning curve and an awesome experience, and it's starting to take off and I'm loving it and I'm just passionate about it, and I could do it all day long, and I just love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that's great because if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. So
No, and I also love aligning the realtors, because here's the other thing. The realtors start having a story about the property, or the sellers start having a story about the process or the realtor, and so you have to align all that too, and you have to get everybody out of their way, because everybody starts getting in their way with their thoughts, their stories, their fears, their lack, the concern. And so I work with the realtor. I sometimes will work with sellers if the sellers are open to it, and then I work with the house. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So
that's
that's my
awesome.
spaces. Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
so unique. I mean, I've never heard of anything like it, but I do know that like the realtors that are in it for life and are committed to their business, it's like you have to separate yourself from the rest of everybody, and you got to
Yes.
tap into what your gifts are, and it
Yes.
sounds like you have done that, and I think that's fantastic. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. And it's funny you say that too, because the other thing that I started feeling, I was like, this is my contribution to aligning and clearing those small patches on this planet, right? And that's a way that I can give back in this upgrading and this up leveling that we're doing, is going in and clearing, excuse me, clearing out the energy, the stagnant energies, and really increasing that frequency. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here trying to do. And if that's an area of passion, that's an area where I can literally go into a physical space on this planet and start cleaning up that energy and pulling in that God energy and increasing the frequency, such that it's going to vibrate out to the world. And so I felt that that was a bit of what God was having me do. It felt like a calling, and that was a very interesting experience for me when I saw it from that perspective. I was like, "Oh my God, like God wants me to go in and align these little small pockets on the planet." Because over time, the grid starts coming together and you start to create a frequency. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. It is really awesome. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you. And thanks for coming on my show today. We're going to
Yes.
end this here. And
Okay,
I'm
thank
going
you.
to invite you back and we'll do a roundtable with my good friend Michael Ware.
Yes.
And he's probably going to want to talk more on like quantum physics and
Yep.
energy and Holy Spirit type things. And so it's going to be exciting. I'm so glad that you joined with me on this podcast
Thanks
and
for having me.
given my audience an opportunity to know who you are because I want to bring you back, Tara. I think you're very special,
Thank
and I
you.
think you
Likewise.
resonate with a lot of people. So I'll be catching up with you soon, folks. If you do want to follow Tara more on social media or her website, we're going to put her links in the drop down below. I encourage you to go check out her podcast. And the name of the podcast is.
Right now it's Intuitive Mentor Mom, but it will be rooted in rising here in the next couple weeks. So
Okay,
yeah.
good.
But the link will be the same. So whatever link you put down there, they'll be able to find me.
Awesome. So I
Yeah.
encourage you guys to go check her out, support her any which way you can. And until next time, you've tuned into the Ultra MK podcast, where together we are reversing the narrative. We'll see you on the next episode.
That is our obligation, to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face.